The arena's sand glowed amber under the twin suns sinking low on the horizon. Ryan felt the grit under his feet as skull warriors shoved him into the fighting pit. Their harsh voices chattered while they tugged at his torn clothes and jabbed him with spear handles. Days of captivity had left him weak and thirsty, but not defeated. Straightening, Ryan scanned the Colosseum carved into the caldera's wall. 30 feet high, the stone terraces were filled with skull warriors and their families. Their glowing blue skin and silver eyes reflected the fading light. "Move, human," one guard ordered, thrusting a barbed spear. Ryan stumbled, then caught himself, refusing to fall. He had come here searching for his brother Thomas after hearing rumors of a captured human scout. Instead, he'd been trapped by a hunting party at the jungle's edge. A deep horn silenced the crowd. From a platform above, a larger skull with darker skin and scarred chest stepped forward. The tribal chief. He raised his arms, and the crowd roared. Speaking in the trade tongue, his voice carried across the arena. "The human trespasser faces judgment in the sacred circle. Bring our champion." A gate opened. The roar grew louder as a tall figure appeared. Over 7 feet, her movements were sharp and predatory. White paint highlighted her muscular frame, and a scar from eye to jaw twisted her face. She wore minimal armor and carried 2 curved blades. The crowd chanted her name, Lanier, Lanier. She circled Ryan, blades flashing in precise patterns, stopping just short of cutting him. The crowd erupted at her display. Then she spoke, her voice low and edged. "You'll die in seconds, human. Your kind always does." Ryan removed his jacket, folded it, and set it on the sand. The crowd fell silent at this gesture. Rolling his shoulders, he said clearly, "I didn't come to fight. I came looking for my brother." Lanier laughed harshly. "Yet fight you shall." She lunged, slicing his arm. Blood welled as the crowd cheered. "Fight back," she hissed. But Ryan raised his hands. "I won't fight you." She attacked harder, cutting him across the chest and thigh. The wounds were precise but not fatal. The crowd grew restless, angry at the lack of spectacle. Lanier, enraged, launched a storm of strikes. Ryan dodged where he could but bled from many shallow cuts. Still, he refused to strike back. Frustration made Lanier reckless. She slipped in Ryan's blood, falling to one knee and dropping a blade. The arena went silent. This was Ryan's chance to kill her. Instead, he offered his hand. Stunned, she accepted, and he pulled her up. The chief's voice thundered, "Enough!" The crowd broke into shouts, silenced again by his command. "The human has refused combat, yet shown mercy. By our laws, they are bound enemies." Gasps followed. Lanier protested, but the chief silenced her. "You will remain bound until one dies or both survive the jungle trial." At dawn, they enter the Great Tangle. Survive 7 days, and you are free. Guards locked a device on Ryan's wrist and Lanier's. An invisible chain bound them 3 arm lengths apart. Lanier snarled, "It cannot be broken." Thrown into a bare stone cell, she sat glaring at Ryan. "Why didn't you kill me?" she demanded. He winced at his wounds. "Would that have helped me find my brother?" She laughed bitterly. "Now we die together." At dawn, they were led to the jungle's edge. The chief explained, "Survive 7 days. But know this trial is not just survival." A warrior revealed a glowing insect. It bit both Ryan and Lanier, bonding to their scent. "It will track you. And where it goes, hunters follow." The insect was released, and the pair shoved into the dense jungle. Lanier led, moving with skill. Hours of harsh trekking followed, the canopy darkening until only glowing fungi lit the way. At a stream, Ryan washed his wounds, but Lanier urged, "We must keep moving." Before nightfall, she warned of mutated beasts released first, then elite trackers. "This trial is meant for us to die," she said coldly. Ryan replied, "I don't plan to die. Neither should you." For a moment her eyes softened. They pressed deeper, but exhaustion set in. Ryan noticed her limping, an untreated spear wound. Against her protests, he treated it with jungle plants from his scouting experience. Night fell fast. They built a crude shelter as a horn echoed. "The hunt begins," she whispered. They stayed awake, tense. Strange sounds echoed. Suddenly, a massive mutant burst through the brush, all teeth and limbs. Lanier fought, slashing its throat to little effect. It threw her aside, dragging Ryan by the chain. They ran, pursued, until two more mutants appeared. Ryan used a branch to strike one, buying seconds. He spotted a river, and they plunged in as the beasts stopped short of water. Swept downstream, they clung together until they reached a sandbar at dawn. Lanier collapsed, bleeding heavily. Ryan bound her wounds with strips of cloth. She asked weakly, "Why help me?" "I would have killed you." He answered, "Because I'm tired of killing. And because we need each other." They sheltered under tree roots. Fever overtook her, but Ryan brewed a healing tea. By morning, she recovered, weakened, but alive. She studied him and said, "You know our ways." He admitted past dealings with her people. "Then you know what we do to humans." He nodded. "And you know what humans have done to others." She looked away. Her injuries slowed them as they continued through dangerous terrain, carnivorous plants, swarming insects, and a vast swamp ahead. "We must cross," Lanier said. Ryan asked, "Is there no other way?" She shook her head. "Not in time. But the swamp hides our scent." They stepped carefully into the wetlands, chain binding them close. Midway, Ryan stepped onto what seemed solid. The ground gave way, and he plunged into the muck, dragging Lanier with him. "Don't struggle," she shouted, bracing herself against a tree root. "It will pull you down faster." Ryan forced himself to stay still as the quicksand crept deeper. Pain from his dislocated shoulder washed over him and made it hard to focus. Lanier moved to firmer ground, cut a vine free, and threw one end to Ryan. "Wrap it around your good arm," she said. "I'll pull." He obeyed, teeth clenched against the pain. Lanier braced and hauled. Slowly, tortuously, the quicksand released its hold. He collapsed onto solid earth, coated in foul muck. Lanier knelt beside him. "Your shoulder is dislocated," she said with clinical calm. "I need to reset it." Ryan nodded, too tired to speak. Without warning, she gripped his arm and shoulder and twisted with practiced skill. A sickening pop, then a fresh wave of pain, then relief as the joint slid back. "Thank you," he managed. Lanier's face stayed unreadable. "Where are we now?" she asked simply. They finished the crossing as twilight fell and found shelter in an abandoned outpost beyond the swamp. The small wood and stone structure was nearly hidden by moss and vines. Inside was evidence of a long empty skull hunting lodge. A stone fire pit filled the room. Crude shelves held rotting supplies and broken weapons. "We can rest here tonight," Lanier said, checking the building. "The walls will mask our heat signatures from the trackers." Ryan gathered dry material and built a small, careful fire. The warmth was a relief after hours in the damp swamp, and the smoke kept biting insects at bay. As the flames flickered, he noticed Lanier watching him, no longer like a predator judging prey, but with something close to curiosity. "What?" he finally asked. "You move differently than other humans I have hunted," she said. "You see the jungle. You respect it." "I was raised on frontier worlds," Ryan explained. "My family settled on 3 different planets. I learned landscapes before books." He poked the fire. "My brother Thomas. He's a xenobiologist. He came to study your people's farming. His last transmission mentioned a breakthrough about symbiosis between crops and insects. Then nothing for 3 months." Lanier was quiet for a long moment. "There was another human here before you," she said. "He did not trespass. He came openly to the village boundaries to ask permission to observe. The council granted it." She stared into the fire. "I did not see him myself. I was on a long hunt when he arrived. When I returned, no one mentioned him." Hope flared in Ryan. "That sounds like Thomas." "When?" "2 full moon cycles ago." Ryan did the math. The timing fit, but doubts nagged him. If Thomas had permission, why did no one mention him when Ryan was captured? Why throw Ryan into the arena instead of explaining? Lanier's face darkened. "I do not know. It is not our way to hide information without purpose." She met his eyes. "When we return, if we return, I will help you find answers." Liner was quiet for a long moment. "There was another human here before you," she said. "He did not trespass. He came openly to the village boundaries to ask permission to observe. The council granted it." She stared into the fire. "I did not see him myself. I was on a long hunt when he arrived. When I returned, no one mentioned him." Hope flared in Ryan. "That sounds like Thomas." "When?" 2 full moon cycles ago." Ryan did the math. The timing fit, but doubts nagged him. If Thomas had permission, why did no one mention him when Ryan was captured? Why throw Ryan into the arena instead of explaining? Lanier's face darkened. "I do not know. It is not our way to hide information without purpose." She met his eyes. "When we return, if we return, I will help you find answers." They made better progress after the swamp. The jungle eased into sunlit clearings. They met no more mutants, but twice had to hide from aerial patrol skull trackers, using off-world tech forbidden by tradition. "They're desperate," Liner said after the second flyover. "Using off-world tech breaks our sacred taboos." "Why such lengths?" Ryan asked. "What happens if we survive the trial?" Liner grew troubled. "In our history, no bound enemies complete the trial. If one did, it would threaten our justice system. Some would see a sign from the ancestors. Others would see danger to the old ways." They camped that night in a cave formed by a fallen giant tree root. By the fire, Ryan watched Liner touch a faded scar on her forearm, 3 parallel lines. "How did you get that?" he asked. Her silver eyes lifted to him and then away. "My first kill," she said quietly. "A rival hunter who challenged my right to lead the warband. He gave me this before I took his life." She traced the scar with one clawed finger. "Each mark on my body tells a story of survival." Ryan touched his own arm where her blade had cut him in the arena. Lanier's gaze lingered on the healing wound. "That one tells of the day I met a human who refused to kill," she said, her voice softer. "The day everything I believed was challenged." Silence followed, charged but not uncomfortable. Ryan broke it. "I never killed your people. I was only looking for my brother." Liner looked at him and called him by name for the first time. "Ryan," she said as if testing it, "I believe you." He showed another scar, older, jagged. "Your people gave me this 2 years ago when I mapped the western ridges," he said. Liner recognized the pattern of a ceremonial hunting blade. Shame crossed her silver eyes. "We have much blood between our species," she murmured. "Maybe too much. Or maybe enough to see we're not so different," Ryan replied. Dawn brought new danger. The jungle thinned toward the mountains and the Skull Village. A high-pitched whine was their only warning before something small and fast shot through the foliage and lodged in a tree, trunk beside Ryan's head, a dart tipped with an unknown substance. "Trackers," Liner hissed, pulling him into the undergrowth. They crawled through ferns, forced to move together by the invisible chain. More darts whistled by. The pursuer closed in. Liner pointed to a narrow ravine. "We can lose them in the rocks." They sprinted, abandoning stealth for speed. As they reached the entrance, a figure dropped from the canopy into their path. A skull warrior stood there in full hunting regalia, face painted with ritual markings of an elite tracker. In his hands was a pneumatic dart launcher aimed at Ryan's chest. "Oathbreakers," the tracker snarled. "Your trial ends here." Ryan tensed, knowing the ravine left little room to dodge. One dart could paralyze or kill him. Lena stepped forward, her posture shifting. "Kresic," she acknowledged. "You honor us with your skill." The tracker narrowed his silver eyes. "Save your words, champion. You abandoned your honor in the arena. Now you will die as the ancestors demand." "The ancestors demand we complete the trial," Lena countered. 7 days, that was the judgment. "The judgment was a formality," Kresic spat. "No bound enemies survive. That is the way." "Perhaps it's time for change," Ryan suggested, drawing a murderous glare. "Silence, human. You have corrupted our champion. You deserve a slow death." Lena laughed, startling both men. "Corrupted me? No, Kresic. He has shown me something we forgot." She stepped closer, the chain pulling Ryan with her. Strength isn't always killing. Kresic's finger tightened on the trigger. "You speak heresy." "I speak truth," Lena answered calmly. "If you kill us now, that truth dies with us." For a breath, the weapon lowered. Uncertainty flickered in the tracker's eyes. Then his expression hardened. "The chief's orders are absolute. No survivors." Everything happened fast. Kresic raised his weapon. Ryan lunged, pulling the chain. Lena used his momentum and launched at the tracker. Her claws ripped across his throat as his dart fired wild into the canopy. Kresic fell, blue blood pulsing. From a severed artery, his silver eyes wide with shock as life drained out. Lena knelt beside the fallen tracker and whispered in her native temper, perhaps a prayer or a farewell. When she rose, her face was set. "We should take his supplies and hide the body. There will be others." They worked quickly, gathering the dart launcher, a water skin, and preserved rations from his pack. They buried him under a pile of stones on the ravine floor. Lena marked the grave with symbols Ryan didn't recognize. "Will they come for us with more soldiers now?" Ryan asked as they moved on. "Yes," she answered simply. Kresic was the chief's nephew. His death will not go unanswered. They pressed forward through the day and night, stopping only when fatigue forced them. The land became more familiar to Lena, who guided them along hidden trails and old migration paths. By the 6th dawn, they had reached the edge of Skull territory. "We're close," Lena said as they climbed a ridge. Below lay a valley she knew well. But instead of farms and lodges, they saw only scorched earth. Smoke rose from ruined structures. "No!" Lena cried, racing downhill. The granary was gone, reduced to ash and blackened beams. Beyond it, the destruction stretched across the village. Nothing had been spared. Why? Who did this? Ryan asked, following her through the ruins. "Imperial patrols," she spat, studying the scorch marks. "Military energy weapons. They attacked while the warriors were away." Ryan stood beside her, unable to comfort her. Then he noticed something half buried in the rubble. A human data tablet, cracked but still working. "Lena, look at this," he called. The screen flickered to life. A message appeared, addressed to him. "Ryan, if you find this, I'm alive but captured. Imperial Black Ops took me weeks ago. After my research showed skull farming methods could terraform hostile worlds, they decided it was too valuable to leave behind. They plan a pacification. Go to the northern outpost. Coordinates attached. Hurry, Thomas." "My brother," Ryan whispered, torn between dread and hope. Lena stared at the tablet, then at the ruins. "Your people did this." "Not my people," Ryan corrected. "Imperial Black Ops, the same ones who hold my brother." They stood among the ashes, she mourning everything lost, he clinging to the chance of finding family. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Go north. Find Thomas," Ryan said. "After that, I don't know." "There is nothing left for me here," Lena replied, resolve in her eyes. I will go with you. The binding, Ryan reminded her. We're still chained. Her mouth curved bitterly. It doesn't matter. There's no chief or shaman left to remove it. The trial is over, but no one remains to witness it. He realized then they were bound permanently, their fates tied together. Then we go together, Ryan said. They gathered what little remained: food, water, weapons. Before leaving, Lanier performed a short ritual in her language. Ryan didn't need translation. It was farewell. Northward they traveled, avoiding Imperial patrols and drones. By the third day, they found a trading post on the edge of Skull Lands. Wait here, Ryan told her, gesturing to trees. Though the chain kept her close, they had learned to move with distance. Ryan entered the outpost, blending in as a frontiersman. The guard barely questioned him before letting him through. Inside, miners, traders, and mercenaries filled the place. He bought supplies quietly, listening to talk of indigenous clearance, as if it were business. Then he saw it, a wanted notice showing Lanier's image. Dangerous. A bounty offered. He tore it down and returned to her. We need to move, he said, showing her the poster. They fear survivors who can speak the truth, she replied, calm but sharp. For 2 more days, they stayed in the wild, moving cautiously. The chain no longer hindered them. They anticipated each other naturally. On the 4th night, Lanier froze. Vehicles, she whispered. They doused their fire, hiding as patrol craft swept overhead. They're guarding something, Ryan murmured. By dawn, they found it. A fenced compound, towers, and armed guards. Ryan checked the tablet. Yes. This is it. They watched, studying security. At night, they moved. Lanier cut through the fence with her claws. Inside, they kept to shadows until reaching the research building. Too quiet, Lanier warned. Ryan bypassed the door lock and they slipped inside. Empty halls, labs filled with Crops Thomas's work. They nearly collided with a scientist. Lanier silenced her instantly, but when freed, the woman remained calm. You're Ryan, she said. He told me you might come. You know my brother? Where is he? They moved him to orbit 3 days ago. His research was too valuable to risk. She explained. Skull farming could make barren worlds fertile in months. That knowledge was worth genocide. Lanier's voice hardened. So you killed us for it. The woman looked ashamed. Not all of us agreed. I'm sorry. How do we reach the orbital facility? Ryan asked. You can't. Security is too tight. But Thomas left this for you. She gave him a data chip. There's a shuttle bay to the west. Use it. Lanier eyed her suspiciously. Why help us? Because what happened was wrong, the woman said simply. Bodies lay where they had fallen: elders, children, those unable to flee. The meeting hall was a smoking crater. Lanier dropped to her knees beside an elderly woman, gently closing her eyes. My mother's sister, she whispered. She taught me to track and read the stars. Grief twisted her face. Gone, all gone. They left quickly, heading for the shuttle bay. But when they entered, lights blazed and guards surrounded them. A high-ranking officer stepped forward. Ryan Wallace, he said. How kind of you to come. And you brought a specimen. The last of her kind, I believe. Where's my brother? Ryan demanded. Safe, the officer replied coldly. And quite cooperative. His research is invaluable. As for the village, regrettable, but necessary. The Skulls wouldn't share their secrets. We made a decision. Take them alive, he ordered. Ryan felt Lanier slip him a dart gun. Their eyes met. A plan unspoken. The first guard reached for them. Ryan fired, striking the officer. Lanier tore through soldiers with her claws. Alarms blared, chaos erupted. They fought their way into a shuttle, sealing the doors. Ryan activated the systems. Can you fly this? Lanier asked. Better, he said, inserting the chip. Thomas's voice filled the cabin. If you found this, follow my trail. Coordinates are set. Trust me, little brother. The shuttle roared skyward, breaking free as the base shrank below. Where's it taking us? Linaire asked. Not the orbital station, Ryan said, watching the screen. We're heading east, across the ocean. At last, they descended over distant islands. A hidden settlement appeared below, alive with humans and skulls together. My people, Linaire whispered. The shuttle landed. Waiting for them was Thomas, alive, beside an elderly skull shaman. Welcome to New Beginning, Thomas said. Embracing his brother, Linaire stared at her people, alive. How? We intercepted Imperial transmissions, Thomas explained. We saved who we could. His expression fell. I'm sorry about your village. The shaman studied the chain between Ryan and Linaire. The binding ritual, he said. You survived. It is a sign. The old ways must change. He produced a key. Shall I free you? Ryan and Linaire exchanged a look. Not yet, she said softly. Ryan nodded. The shaman smiled. Not enemies anymore. Thomas led them through the thriving community. Skull and human working side by side. Children playing together. Fields alive with the crops that had cost so much. That night, Ryan and Linaire stood on a porch, overlooking the sea. The chain between them no longer felt like punishment, but a symbol of what they had endured. What will you do now? Ryan asked. They are not my clan, she said. But I have found something else. She stepped closer by choice, not by force. Will you go alone? She asked. Ryan smiled, taking her hand. Will you? She answered by standing at his side, shoulder to shoulder, facing the horizon. Behind them, a new world was being built. Ahead of them, possibilities stretched as wide as the ocean. Bound not by chains, but by choice. Survivors together.